Have you ever thought about what happens when, like, a comedian's joke ends up in front of the highest court in the land?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So today we're actually going to look at a situation that kind of exemplifies that. We're diving into some serious fallout from tweets by comedian Kunal Kamara about the Supreme Court of India back in 2020.
Oh, wow.
And to really understand all this, we're looking at a document called Kunal Kamara and the Supreme Court.pdf.
Okay.
And we're hoping to, give you an understanding of what happened, the arguments involved, and also, the larger implications of this case.
Okay, cool.
So to set the stage for all of this, this whole thing started back in November of 2020 when the Supreme Court granted bail to Republic TV's Arnav Goswami in a 2018 abetment to suicide case.
Oh, wow.
And he was arrested on November 4th.
Okay.
And by November 11th, he was out on bail.
Oh, wow.
Thanks to the Supreme Court.
So pretty quickly.
Yeah. And the source material that we're looking at points out that the speed was kind of unusual.
Yeah. I mean, a week is pretty fast.
Yeah.
Especially for a case like that.
Right. And, it wasn't just the speed, but also what that implied to observers of the court. And that really kind of set the stage for what followed.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which were some tweets by comedian Kunal Kamara.
Okay.
And he was pretty direct with what he had to say. He called the Supreme Court the supreme joke of India.
Oh, wow.
He also tweeted that the court had failed to uphold democracy and become a joke.
Okay.
And then he said the Supreme Court now functions as the BJP's IT cell.
Wow. He was not holding back at all.
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
So, the document makes it pretty clear that the Supreme Court did not like this at all.
I can imagine.
They saw these tweets as an attack on the judiciary's integrity.
Right.
And the Attorney General at the time, K. Venugopal, even labeled them highly objectionable. And this all led to Kamara being issued a notice for contempt of court.
Okay, so the court is pretty upset by this.
Yeah, they are not amused.
Yeah.
But almost as interesting as the tweets themselves is Kamara's reaction.
Okay, what did he do?
He refused to apologize.
Wow.
And in response, he said sarcastically, if the court doesn't like my jokes, they can block me on Twitter.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So his defense was basically that no reasonable person would take his satirical tweets as serious commentary.
Okay, so that brings up an important point about satire in general.
Yeah.
What is the intent? Is it to genuinely undermine an institution, or is it more like social commentary where you're using exaggeration and humor to make a point?
Exactly. And Kamara's argument is that his tweets are the latter.
Okay, I see.
So where do things stand? Well, the case is still pending in the Supreme Court.
Oh, wow. It's still going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kamara hasn't actually faced any punishment yet. But the source highlights that this whole situation has really sparked a debate around judicial accountability and free speech.
Okay, so where's the line drawn?
Exactly.
Okay.
On the one hand, you have people arguing that satire is an important part of a democracy.
Right.
And it's a way to critique those in power.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But on the other hand, you have people who believe that the judiciary should not be disrespected. And they believe that's really important for maintaining public trust in the courts.
Okay. Yeah, so you have these two kind of competing ideas.
Right. And this brings us to the question that the document poses to the reader.
Okay.
Were Kunal Kamara's tweets a legitimate exercise of free speech? Or did they cross the line into contempt of court?
Yeah, just the question.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting question because, it makes you think about where that boundary is.
Right, because you need to have free speech, but you also don't want people just completely disrespecting institutions.
Exactly.
Yep.
And ultimately, that's really what this boils down to. How does society balance freedom of expression, which includes satire, with the need to protect the authority of the judiciary?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
It is a tough question. And so, as we end this deep dive, think about this,
Okay.
How do we balance criticism and authority?
Yeah.
Especially in a world where, information spreads so quickly online.
Right. Nowadays, as soon as something happens, it's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what does this case tell us about where those lines of acceptable discourse are today?
It's really interesting to think about.
It is. And it's something that I think we all need to consider.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, this was a really fascinating discussion. I'm glad we got to dive into this today.
Yeah, me too.
This was a good one.
All right. Well, that's it for today's deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See ya. Bye.